that you blend into pulp, if it's the white one that you want, or roasted groundnut that you blend, and after blending it, it comes this way like grounded crayfish. And having put on your stove, you add water. Add water. Then you remember that you don't just need water and the lit stove. You don't just need the groundnut. There are several other elements that you need, different elements to bring this soup together. So you need palm oil. You need onion. I love smoked fish. So you need smoked fish. But look, there is one element that has its unique aroma. Okporoko stockfish. Unique aroma. You need it. But above all, you need some little other spices like red pepper, ground crayfish. Then don't forget your salt so that you can have taste. So as our water is boiling, what you should ask yourself is, what do I put into this boiling water? Apart from this groundnut, you remember your onion. Because you have to take something that is threatening to blend with something that is not threatening. And what is it? You take your knife, threatening. You pick your onion, and what do? You chop it. And having chopped your onion to the sizes that you require, you take your threatening element back to where it should be. Wipe your hands very well so that it doesn't contaminate the other element. But remember, you may need a seasoning to add to your elements to bring all of these together. But there's something as an Okwani man that you must not forget to add to your groundnut soup. It is called Uda. Pipergianusis. But you may also discover that that will not be enough. You need vegetables, and I love uziza leaves to add to my groundnut soup. I do not just love uziza leaves only. I love arorunta, basil leaves. And when you bring all these together, oh, our water is really boiling. Yeah. Almost getting there. So as threatening as the boiling water is, it is welcoming at the same time, because all the other elements have to be added to it, so that when we stir, we are bringing the differences together so that it becomes a well-flavored and tasty meal at the same time. That's the point that my wife will say, come, bring your hand. Test them. Hi, sweet. Salt day? I say yes. Ibla say pepper, I want too much. Okay. Make we add small oil. We add them. And what are we doing by stirring? Bringing all the different elements together, helping them to manage themselves so that they live together in the same pot of soup. If we can bring these elements together to create the pot of soup that we require, we can bring our differences together to create a well-flavored, garnished marriage. Differences refer to our unique characteristics. And these unique characteristics, some appear threatening, like the knife, but some appear very welcoming, like fruits. But they are all in our kitchen, and we need each of these elements to make the best meal that has to do with our relationship. Listen, you are most likely to marry someone who is different from you, because that was the intention of God. Just like it is in the kitchen, marriage is not about someone who is similar to you. See, if everything in this kitchen were to be groundnut, there will be no soup. True or false? If everything in this kitchen were to be just smoked fish, there will be no soup. If everything in this kitchen were to be just palm oil alone, will there be soup? No. So we need all the different elements to come together to create that well-flavored and tasty meal. That is where our differences are important, that we should be able to harness them together and make life out of ourselves. So in our text, the Shulamite and the bridegroom understood the power of the differences that they had, and they put them in words to show how different they are. So how then can we manage our differences? The first thing to do is discover your differences. Discover your differences. So the Shulamite said, I am the rose of Sharon and the lily of the valleys. What baffles me is that we use these two terms for God, the rose of Sharon and the lily of the valleys, but maybe because we lack understanding. The rose of Sharon is not a proper rose. It's just an ordinary flower that buds like a rose, but it's not a rose. So there is nothing unique about it. The lily of the valley is still just an ordinary flower that just grows in the valley. So the Shulamite is saying, there's nothing special about me. I am just an ordinary flower. You can compare me to these two ordinary flowers. That is who I am. So I wonder why you want me in my ordinariness. And then he says, you are like a lily among thorns. That was the reply of the husband, which means you are a lily in the midst of thorns, but you are unique because you are different from the daughters of Jerusalem. That's why we need to discover our differences when we come together into a marriage relationship. Recognizing these differences are important in managing our differences. And what are some of these differences? Personality differences. One is more outgoing and one is more reserved. One is more spontaneous, but the other one is like calculator, a spreadsheet. It must be programmed, it must be on budget and timetable. That's the other one. One is more serious, the other one is more jovial. Why? Positive and negative charge. That's only when power can be produced. If all we are positive, nothing will happen. So there must be personality differences. Again, there are differences in our preferences. What do you prefer? And we find that this creates a lot of issues in our homes sometimes. For one, he doesn't mind whether the bed is made or not. So far there is a bed to sleep on. For one, it is an issue. That the bed is not just made, that is that the bed sheet is well made. To come in and see just one wrinkle is an issue. For one, it doesn't matter whether the plates are washed in the morning or washed at night. So far, the plates are washed. But for one, there must not be any dirty plate in the sink. For one, he doesn't mind where clothes are kept. No. The other one is Mrs. Order. Things must be kept decently and in order. To find one stocking somewhere else is an issue. Preferences, differences. Again, there are cultural differences. Cultural differences that have to do with background and way people speak. My wife and I have cultural differences. I'm Okwane by tribe. She's Ika by tribe. When Ika people talk, it appears as if they are quarreling because of their high tonal language. And so when she speaks to me, you may think she is quarreling with me because she has to maintain her cultural voice. But to the Okwane person, that may look like an insult. Why is she talking at that tone? Cultural differences. There are cultures that if the lady is to greet the man, she must. Or there are some cultures that it doesn't matter. By my culture, I've told you repeatedly, I cannot look at my father in his face when he is speaking to me. It's an insult in Okwane culture. So going home last week to see my father, unconsciously, I still do that. I can't look at him straight in his face. My head has to be tilted a little bit downwards. Because looking at him eyeball to eyeball means I am your mate. Cultural differences. And so we find that when cultures collide in marriage, there are issues. A mother-in-law who understands her culture different from the culture of the daughter-in-law, issues come about. So you find him in the kitchen trying to fix a meal, and the mother-in-law walks into the kitchen and says, what do you do? He say, I want cook. You want cook when your wife the house. She can't understand this because of cultural differences. Again, there are age differences that we find in our homes. It is no news today, and there is nothing wrong with it, that a lady can be older in the relationship than the man. But from the African perspective, it looks like anathema. It looks like agua. Why should a woman be older than the man? Where they find love, what is your issue? Where it is not an issue, why raise it? In as much as they can blend and find love and manage themselves, there's no issue. Again, there are financial differences that we find in our homes. There's one who is an accountant in the house. Every kobo must be budgeted for. Everything to be spent must have been budgeted for. Nothing leaves the pocket that has not been budgeted. But there is one. As far as the thing has to be bought, whether budgeted or not budgeted, it has to be bought. There's one in every home that is more liberal with money. There is the other one that knows how to keep the money. And that's the blend. Because if two of you are spenders, you will be broke very soon. In fact, you will not just be broke, you will be bankrupt. But if two of you are just holders and there is no one that gives out, you will soon dry up too. And that's the way God has created us. And these differences are the issues we have in our home. But God intended them to be what? A balance. And in every home, there will be a parrot. One out of the two will be a parrot. And who doesn't talk like the other, it's a problem for him or her. Is that why you be say they just keep quiet every time. Differences. Again, there are political differences that we all have in our home. She supports a different political idea. I support a different political idea. Each time we go to vote, I go with my wife. She's always in front and I am behind. She votes differently and I vote differently. Yes. It's not an issue. Right there on the voting ground, I am still trying to win her into my political opinion. But she's not winnable. Then I try to be African. Don't you know I'm your husband? It's where I vote that we must vote. And she will say to me jokingly, they play. So why must a home get scattered because of different political ideologies? You should know how to blend them together. Again, there are sexual differences. Definitely, one will have a greater drive than the other. But remember that these differences are not deficiencies. Whatever the differences are, they are not meant to tear us apart. They are just two sides of the same coin. And the two sides of the same coin, that is what makes it a legal tender. So allow each person to maintain their uniqueness. Because no one side of the coin is better than the other. So discover your differences. To also manage your differences. Discuss your differences. Discuss your differences. So she said, I am the rose of Sharon and the lily of the valleys. And he replied, like a lily among thorns, so is my love among the daughters. So you find a discussion that went on about their differences. Each time we go into the kitchen to prepare a meal, the discussion takes place in the pot. Because each of these elements find a way that they will have to blend into each other. So as they engage in the discussion, and we help them with the discussion as we stir, meaning still maintain who you are, but find as you feel joined to the other person, so that one will go come out well. The discussion takes place right in the pot. So when Solomon and the Shulamite talked about their differences, exposed their differences, they talked about it. They discussed it. Because that's how we can manage our differences. Remember I said earlier that she said, I am the rose of Sharon. I am the lily of the valley. Solomon, there's nothing special about me. I wonder why you want me among other women. And Solomon said, you are like a lily among thorns. Among the daughters of Israel, I can pick you out of them. And she said, you are like apple among the trees. There's something different about you. Listen, let's learn to talk through our differences. The quickest way to do it is to sit down and discuss the issue with your spouse. Let each person get out a clean sheet of paper as you sit and say, can you please write down what makes me different from you? Write it down and let each person write down. And as they write down, as you write down your differences, upon or along every difference. Write down what the other person gains from your difference. See, in addressing our differences, it is important to know that all our differences cannot be resolved. It can only just be understood. But the issue with us is that we want to resolve the differences. All our differences cannot be resolved. It must just be what? Understood. About 70% of issues actually stem from our differences. And we can talk about them. But these 70%, we can't resolve them. How can you resolve the difference between I and my wife? That I am a very spontaneous person and she's a very calculating person. How do I move her into spontaneity? That's not who she is. Before she spends money, she has to be convinced, really convinced, and convinced beyond all convincable convictions that this money is worth spending and investing. I don't need to be convinced. I just have to understand it. And I throw my money. But that's not her. Her philosophy is very simple. A bird in hand is worth two in the bush. But my philosophy is simple. A bird in hand is one, it's not two in the bush. So there's no need trying to resolve this. Just do what? Understand it. Understand that this is who she is. Understand that this is who he is. But in seeking to understand your differences, in engaging in the discussion about your differences, the first 3 minutes is very crucial. The first 3 minutes of the discussion is very crucial. The reason is that 96% of the times, how you start the discussion is how the discussion will go. The tone, the emotion with which you start the discussion is how it will go. So, start your discussion with softness, affection, and laughter. We have a language in our house. When our children say to us, Daddy and Mommy, we have talk. We know say you don't say it. We have talk means it is very formal. And formal discussions, people usually come with their defense, even before the discussion, without knowing what the topic is. So it's better to start your discussion on a soft note. Find a point of laughter, smile, and merriment to start that discussion from. Let it become the atmosphere with which you used to build that discussion to where you want it to be. In 2016, we were on our way to America for holidays. But I needed to understand certain things. And I needed answers. And since it was going to be holidays, no stress for anyone, I wrote down 46 questions I wanted my wife to answer for me. 46. And so on that morning, after we have gone for our usual exercise, gone to swimming, came back, as we were eating that morning, I began to throw in my questions little by little in a relaxed atmosphere. We got through with 23, remaining 23. By the next day, I waited for the time. They had gone out to enjoy themselves. Because when I go on holidays, I don't go for sightseeing. My holidays are just for two things: to eat and to sleep. That's all I go on holidays for. I don't do sightseeing. It's not important to me. So, but the next day when she was back with our children, and they were excited talking about where they went and the things, I jumped into the discussion. Carefully moved her away from there and began my questions. And we finished it. Let me tell you, on an ordinary day, without laughter, those questions go cause kata kata. But because the atmosphere was different, look, there are 4 major contaminants that you must eliminate from your discussion about your differences. Criticism, which is attacking your spouse's character. What you want is a hug that she has not been given to you. That's all you want. But it's not a question of why it is every time you be like stick. You ordinary hug, you not feel give person. See, that stick go break your head. So, we must eliminate criticism, attacking your spouse's character. Again, eliminate contempt, which is a conveyance of disgust. You know, as we dey talking for a can, you go look the person sakan. Just look at like this, anyhow. Remove defensiveness, which is blame and counter-attack. Then remove stonewalling, just disengaging. When you remove these from your discussion, then you will be able to harness your differences and be able to make it work for you. Because you were created actually to be different. So, discover your differences. Discuss your differences. And number 3, deal with your differences. How do you deal with your differences? Verse 3. The later part of verse 3. I sat down in his shade with great delight, and his fruit was sweet to my taste. The Shulamite, who had described herself as the lily of the valley and the rose of Sharon, as ordinary flower, I mean ordinary flower, nothing special about her. But having listened to her husband that she was different, she was a lily among thorns, and an engagement had taken place. And she said, you are like an apple among the trees. I sat down in his shade with great delight. The implication of that was this. She had found a sense of security and peace in the protective covering of her beloved. She felt sheltered, no longer at the mercy of others. Solomon dealt with the issue of difference by protecting the Shulamite. In marriage, it's important to address your differences by making a choice. So, when you walk into the kitchen and you have several elements available to you, you have a choice on what you want to make your meal, your soup with, your groundnut soup with. Do you use goat meat, chicken, beef, or ram? You have a choice. You have a choice to pick from the fruits. You can't eat all at the same time. So you have to do what? Make a choice. That's why choice is important in how we deal with our differences. Do I want the red apple? Or I prefer the English pear? Or I want mango? When it comes to mango, I'm very choosy. Why? The only mango I like eating is Ogbomosho mango. And it's called Ogbomosho because that's the species. It's different. And when I mean different, I mean different. I hate eating every other mango because Ogbomosho spoiled me. It's not just that it is juicy and fleshy. The taste is different. And so when they call these other ones mango, I ask which species. I always wait till I get to Ogbomosho until I eat mangoes. Because it's just different. Again, I don't eat all forms of bananas. I eat only the four corner. Some call it native. But that's just what I eat. Why? The taste is different. Again, the taste is native to my native birds. Possibly because I love native things. You have a choice. So each time you are presented with several things, choice is important. Deal with your differences by choosing your manner of behavior. Again, deal with your differences by dealing with your selfishness. The reason you are daggers drawn with your spouse is very simple. You are selfish. You want your spouse to act in the way you act. You want your spouse to live the way you live so that it will spare you the problem of having to think. Because you can easily predict him or her. No. But this is not a robot that you are programmed. See, marriage is not about getting our needs met. It is learning how to love and find out where we can become more refined and of value to the other person. That's why your selfishness has to be dealt with. Because your selfishness is the reason for this fight. And my selfishness affected my wife. And sometimes I just tell her sorry. She likes rice and beans a lot. But me, she said that rice, or it is beans. I don't believe in community project. So when we get to a restaurant, for instance, and she has the opportunity for her rice and beans, I congratulate her. But as for me and my household, again, because of my selfishness, cooking beans has become difficult in our house. Why? I told her that all the beans I should eat in the world, I ate in the seminary. Having eaten beans 4 years in the seminary, God. So she says to me, come on. What time we go to eat for this? I said, I'm not saying make una no cook. But how we go cook, we leave you come out. I said, now there the cook of the matter conde. Make una cook una own. Me I go think wetin I want chop. You see how selfish I am. I go think wetin I want chop. And that's how we act. Our selfishness is the reason for this fight. Because I feel that when you act like me or choose what I choose, life becomes easier. But that's not true. If I go back again to the former analogy, if everything in this kitchen were just this ground nut, there will be no soup. If everything in this kitchen were similar, there will be no blend at all. There will be no taste. There will be no flavor. So you should be able to allow your differences. See. Can you see how colorful this plate is? Can you see how colorful this plate is? Just watch the colors. You see differences. Somebody want collects. See how colorful the plate is. And because each one brings out its color, there is a blend. Why then don't you want to allow your spouse to show his or her true color? Because when he shines or she shines with his or her color, and you shine with your own color, then you can find beauty. You can find acceptance. You can find welcome. If all we eat we are bananas, we will soon get tired. If all we eat we are just apples and mangoes, we will just get tired. That's why we love seasons. Seasons. And when it is in season, we do what? We eat. Because we know it will soon go out. And we just love it that way. And seasonal fruits are very tasty. Because it is in season. It makes it unique. It makes it different. Why then do you want to shut down my difference? I don't have to be like you to add value to you. Allow me to be who I am, the way I am. If you cut down who I am to graft me to becoming who you are, you will soon discover boredom. There will be no excitement anymore. My difference is the reason for your excitement. And once you kill it, that home will become boring. And you will soon start finding another place. Therefore, don't condemn me for being mango. Stop condemning me for being orange. Don't think there is anything wrong with me when I chose to be English pear and not avocado pear. That's just who I am. We may be pear, but my pear different. I don't know why you be like this. You know they do like woman. How woman did? It's a woman soft, but this is my own nakbako. Now the bako na in hold you so. Hold you well. You for don't wear soapman for neck. So don't condemn me because I am red apple that I chose not to be green apple. Allow me as an apple to have the color that I desire. Because that's what makes the difference. I don't know why it be say, if you dey talk self, you know sabi make mouth talk like how. Allow me, because when I talk, I am like knife I cut. I may look threatening, but actually, I am cutting off something from your life. Because you find a knife in the kitchen. But wait, why he be say, anything with them just talk, you agree? Because I am like spoon, I stir things together. So that they can find their value and their uniqueness in the same place. So stop criticizing me. Only show me how with my uniqueness I can be of better value and of greater use to you. Stop trying to mold your spouse into your image. that won't happen. As long as you expect this to occur, there will be friction in your home. Remember, for you to manage your differences, discover your differences, discuss your differences, and deal with your differences. Let us pray. I want you to talk to your Father. Ask him to help you to live with the difference, which is the uniqueness of your loved one. That your loved one may be your spouse, your fiancé or your fiancée, your brother, your sister, even your parents, or even your children. Say, Lord, give me wisdom to manage our differences so that we can live well and live together. If that's the prayer you want to make, you may wish to go down on your knees and say, Lord, here I am. I don't want to engage in this battle anymore. Just give me the wisdom to know the difference and to apply it for our profit in our home. Speak to your Father. Speak to your Father. It's right there. Where you are, where you are kneeling. It's just you and your Father. And as we keep kneeling, we'll sing, "Oh, perfect love."